Ladies and gentle hands, welcome back to the hardcore world, and we have a bit of an issue on our hands. Right here in front of me is the whitebridge area of our world, our kind of European medieval inspired section of our valley, and it has been long neglected. Whitebridge was actually one of our first mega builds in this world, and one of the very early episodes, one of my favorites as well. And also this big old white mausoleum here is also a big landmark in our world, and I want to finish up this area and make it feel a little bit more complete. Because if we head over here, there's already a lot of missing elements here. So first, we have this little edge of our forest, our custom forest for however many subscribers I was asking for a certain video. And I was supposed to build 250 trees, and I've only built about 80 or so. So we need to work on expanding out the forest all the way up the hill here. I guess those ones count too, so maybe like 90 trees we've made. So we gotta make another like 150 trees to cover up this whole landscape right here. But I also want to work inside the city here as well. So if we cut through the forest, here is the city of Whitebridge, and this area is supposed to be our villager trading area. And I've kind of done a decent job, but we don't have a lot of villagers in this section. These are my masons, right? And they're supposed to give me quartz and bricks and I guess like terracotta and stuff like that, but I only have these 4 guys down here. Then we have some guys upstairs as well who are some toolsmiths who trade iron for emeralds, and then we have some farmers over here for all of our carrots and one little alchemist. But that is not enough villagers for me. I think we need to actually fully expand out all of our villager stations and everything into more buildings, and also kind of rework the city down here itself, because the city frankly is pretty lackluster. I think these buildings in the middle do a great job of what I was kind of looking for, having these bright colorful roofs and our kind of a monotone, calcite white themed buildings here. And these guys on the outskirts are pretty neat as well, but I think we got to get rid of them for more city expansions. I've never been really happy with this area ever since I made it. A few of these houses I quite like this little guy right here by the river is pretty cute. This little guy with like the sawmill and everything is pretty dope as well. And we have a bunch of villagers trapped in here that we need to release eventually. Hi guys. But this is a very ambitious project, so I think the city portion of our endeavors is going to happen in another episode in the future, so stay tuned for that. But today I want to work inside of the mausoleum. So the issue with the mausoleum over there is that there's actually no purpose to it, and I think I want to give it a purpose today because I think that'd just be more interesting than a big old cool looking landmark that has no purpose behind it. And I mean, look at this view right here. Oh my god, and the sun getting ready to set. Oh my goodness. But this building right here is a big icon in our world, and I want to give it a reason for us to come back here. Maybe even do this trek every so often and walk up towards the big gate that is in front of us here. Right now, if we were to take a little peek behind the door, you can see that it's just a stone wall, and that's lame. That's boring. So I'm thinking we can carve out a big old interior inside this thing, and it's going to take a lot of mining and lots of stone to be broken. But I'm looking forward to it because we'll get a lot of, stone out of this, and stone's always really nice to have a big surplus of. But for its actual story, world building purpose, I think this could house maybe an ancient old king who's laid to rest here, and this is a big kind of memorial for him, and maybe the villagers from down under in Whitebridge come to this place to pay respects every year or so to the king who founded their land of Whitebridge. That's probably the most amount of lore you're going to get out of this. I'm trying to stay away from, written lore in this world. I did for a while really want to include lore, like I did include, a little book and quill right there. And there's some cool lore written around the area and some of the ruins and everything, but I think I do want to stay away from any concrete lore and kind of just have this world be a really cool place to kind of walk around and visit. Oh my gosh, I need to show you guys this view I got earlier. When you're coming down the mountainside here and you just look into the valley, oh, it's so cool. Coming down this way and just seeing all the beautiful flowers and the foliage and these little trees we added from the Derby episode. You can see our little Derby track back there. I think those look really freaking awesome, and it's just so gorgeous coming down here. Oh my gosh. So we need to improve some of the landscaping around here. So I think I first want to get rid of all these regular old boring Minecraft trees, and let's throw in some real cool looking pine trees. We have to go gather a lot of resources. I need to go break down pretty much an entire birch forest and spruce forest. So give me some time and this forest will be complete. I actually had a really nice time building this forest. I really like the diversity of the trees and just like the skyline with all the tippy tops of all the trees. It looks very pretty and I'm very happy with how this turned out. And this took me about 2 hours worth of my time, which honestly was a lot less than I thought it was going to be. Anyways, if you're new to the channel, make sure to get subscribed. I'm trying to hit 50K by the end of the year. I'm really looking forward to trying to hit that goal. It would be really freaking awesome if you guys hit that subscribe button, or if you're already subscribed, maybe leave a like or a little bit of both. I would appreciate that. Also, let me know if you guys are excited for our whitebridge renovations, because I am very excited to revisit this neglected area in our world. If you guys have any suggestions or ideas, I will be reading every single comment, so please feel free to leave them in the section below. Okay, thanks, bye. All right, guys, the forest is complete, and I'm very happy with how this looks. Look how much more, what's the word I'm looking for? Foresty. Yes, foresty. This area looks now. I'm very happy. I was really kind of not a big fan of the big open plains that kind of just randomly was right here, and it kind of just didn't feel like there was any sort of transition into the rest of the mountain right here, and like the whole forest just felt kind of cut off. If we hop into our little world map overview right here, this is Zero's world map. You can see how big our forest is, and if I really wanted to, I could go through and count how many trees we have. Maybe I put it up on the screen right now. That's how many trees we have done out of the 250 that we are required to finish. So we still have more likely to do. I'm not actually sure, but I do want to expand out the forest eventually into a little bit more of this area right here and then past the little ruins right here. But something that I really do want to do is work on the forest bed right here. Now, right now, it's just a layer of normal grass. There's not even like short grass anywhere. It's all just very flat and boring here. But also, like, if you look at real forest, there's also a lot of dirt and rocks and just like overgrown foliage and maybe even some like bushes and stuff. So I think I want to go through and actually add in a little bit more of that in the area. And then we can finally move on to our actual project for today, which is, I realized this is missing. There we go. Which is working on the mausoleum over there. I'm actually very excited to begin working on that, but a lot of grinding has gone into this episode so far. All right, but let's tear up a bit of the forest floor here, and then we can get it all looking nice and pretty, and then we can move on to the mausoleum. All right, I'm just gonna say it. The forest looks so good from over here. I haven't really seen it from this angle yet, and I am so happy I've taken the time to add this forest in. And I think eventually it'll look a little bit less flat too once we expand out this way as well. But let me show you guys what I've done to the underbed, the forest bed of the forest. So we've gone ahead and done little kind of splotches of some podzol and some coarse dirt, and to kind of border all of it, I did a little bit of this mossy cobblestone. I was hoping to find a better transition block from these browns into greens, and I know a lot of you guys are gonna be like, use leaf litter. Leaf litter is awesome, and I agree. Leaf litter is pretty freaking cool, but it is very annoying to place down, and especially to gather a lot of it. It's frankly kind of obnoxious. I guess I could have gone out to another forest somewhere out in the world and stolen all of its leaf litter. But like the normal way of doing it, other than gathering it like that, is to smelt leaves. And I already gathered, I think at least 8 shulker boxes worth of leaves for this whole project. So I was good on gathering more leaves, or smelting any for that matter. But yeah, you can see it's very immersive now with all the foliage on the ground, all the green grass. Maybe it could have been worth adding in some ferns here, but I didn't really gather all that many ferns. But we can always come back to this area, maybe even add in some more detail, like a little campsite or somewhere. Could be really freaking neat to see when you're kind of walking by this area. But I think I can safely say we are done with our forest for the time being, aren't we, Mueller? Now let's head up to the mausoleum and let's get kind of cracking on that project a bit. So for the interior of our mausoleum here, I really want to keep, obviously, our theme of the white bridge. So using a lot of diorite and calcite and a little bit of that light concrete powder there. Yes, that's what it's called. And some tough lines. I think we'll keep very consistent with this whole theme here. But also on the inside here, I want to do some big pillars. And I think those pillars, we could use this kind of darker red texture and like the grays that we used on the inside line here. We could do that for the pillars on the interior. I think that could look really cool. And we'll do like a handful on both sides, maybe like 4, maybe 5 pillars deep. And then at the very end of the tunnel, we'll have our sarcophagus, our coffin for the fallen king, who kind of, established the whole whitebridge area, or a little bit of lore that we're giving to this big old mausoleum here. And then also, I was thinking about maybe trying to add a little bit more practicality to the actual interior of this. So maybe we set up a, what is it called? A villager breeder, yes. And with said villager breeder, we can kind of move the villagers out from inside the mausoleum and bring them into the village here. So it's a little bit easier instead of, transporting them all from all the way over there. You can't see it, but they're like, my iron farm is way over there, and that's where I currently have my villager breeder. So it'd be nice to move it from that random hole in the wall to a proper location where we can kind of just randomly, pick and choose our little villager. We can drag them out. We have some sort of cool rail system that kind of drops them off somewhere in the middle of the village, like somewhere down there maybe, and then we can assign them to where they need to go through like workstations and beds and all that fun stuff. But this is going to be a very, very ambitious project. I already did a lot of grinding for the actual forest down there, which looks so fantastic. Oh my goodness. But this is going to be a lot of stone mining. So I've already prepared a little bit. I think a while ago on a live stream, I did a bit of a tool kind of thing here where I've gone through and gathered a bunch of extra pickaxes and shovels for whenever I'm doing big digs like this. So all we got to do is set up our beacon and get digging. So as always, well, this isn't really a cool montage or anything, so enjoy the time lapse. Hello, it is me, Editor Barce. I just wanted to tap in real quick and say I forgot to do a time lapse for this. I just thought it was a little awkward trying to do a time lapse, and I'm trying a new little style, trying to do a little bit more voiceover stuff with these videos. But this dig was actually not that bad. I had a good time doing it. It was very relaxing. I accidentally broke a pickaxe. That was sad. But then I went over to the end, repaired some tools up again, and finished out the dig, and everything was ready for me to begin building in. That was a lot of digging. But look at the size of this room here. I turned on my gamma so you guys can really see how much I've had to dig out here. Oh, I do want to see how much stone I ended up mining for this. So before I started this journey, I had 180,000 stone mined in my statistics. Let's see how much we have now. Items. Holy, another 100, nearly 100k right there. 248,000 pieces of stone mined. That is ridiculous. Almost 250,000. All right, so for my plans in this room, I want to add in some cool looking pillars on the side here, and I want to mimic the design of the ivory, the red ivory here on those pillars. And then on the walls on the inside, we'll just kind of, do our typical whitebridge kind of gradient here with our light gray concrete, diorite, and calcite. And we'll just have those installed on the side of the walls. But to make the walls a little bit more interesting, we could add in some arches as well and some cool like fire maybe kind of sticking out from there. I want this room to be very dark and kind of dingy. But I only want the light coming from the side of the walls and from the pillars as well. So we got to find out a way to light up the pillars. And we might just use candles or something. Not quite sure. But I do want to include a little bit of the copper on the inside here, because that's been a little bit of our accent, especially on the bridge here. We have little pops of this copper color. So I do want to include a little bit of that on the interior here, especially on the walls. And then at the very end here, I want to make some sort of mural. I'm not very good at murals, so I'm going to make something that looks cool for now, and then maybe you guys can leave some suggestions in the comments or in the Discord of some cooler designs for the mural. But I think we should get started on this build. We have a lot of resources to gather, lots of diorite, calcite, probably some basalt and some like andesite and light gray concrete, all sorts of crazy blocks, probably some tough as well. It's going to be all over the place. But as always, sit back, relax, and enjoy the montage. Oh my goodness, it has been a long 4 hours, but the interior is complete. Oh my goodness. As you could probably tell from the montage, we have a lot of really cool and intricate designs inside this temple here. I really wanted to feel kind of holy, and I feel like arches are always a really good representation of some holiness. So we have one really big arch on the bottom here, then we have 2 smaller ones, and then 3 really small ones all the way up there. And even on the little sills on each of the arches, we included some flowers and some candles for a little bit of lighting, because these pillars right here are very dark, and I wanted them to kind of stand out from the rest of the temple. So we used lighting to kind of highlight some of the edges around it, and also the lighter walls, also using some like glow lichen on the left side there, kind of makes them stand out a little bit more from the rest of the background, because it's very dark and very moody in here. So we have to use lighting to our advantage to make everything kind of properly highlight where you're supposed to be looking. And speaking of where you're supposed to be looking, we have the mural right here, which I'm pretty okay with. As I probably mentioned in the clip earlier, I would be open to taking suggestions on maybe a better design for this mural right here, but I'm pretty happy with it for what I've kind of come up with. It's like the king, little mural of the king, and here is this coffin, and this coffin comes with a surprise. Oh, it didn't work. Technical difficulties, hold on. Excuse me, just gotta fix some jank stone real quick. Boop, there we go. Okay, let's try that one more time. And with the press of this button... Uh-oh. And with the press of this button... we have a villager. Just like that, from the coffin, we have a cycle of life and death. Isn't that beautiful? So many technical difficulties. Oh my goodness. But yeah, that's ultimately the purpose of this big old temple here, is our villager breeder. I finally wanted to move it out of the random little corner it was in the Italian village, and I think over here is a little bit more appropriate, because we'll also be, setting up all of our villagers down here in the actual whitebridge area down under. So it kind of makes sense to have the villager breeder be a little bit closer. We could probably set up some cool little minecart tracks, maybe going through the middle right here. And then eventually you can kind of like diverge off and dump off into the village itself, wherever we need them to go. But, the minecart rails are a little bit ugly, so it'll be kind of set up for when we actually need to move the villagers around. Going back to the build though, there's also a lot of nice little motifs. Like these little statues right here are actually from the art museum, and they're taken from over here. So this is now the original place of these statues, and we'll call the ones in the art museums kind of replicas of some sort. Yeah, you can imagine these guys as some sort of protectors for the king of the whitebridge area. And then we also have the red ivory pillars here, which I think look so freaking cool. I definitely love this design, and I'm really glad I kept the motif from out here and brought it into the inside of the temple. I'm very happy with this build. It took me so long. Please subscribe. Speaking of subscribing, that's going to do it for today's episode. Thank you all so much for watching. As always, I really do appreciate it. Big shout out to all of the barce plus as you see on the left side of your screen right now. If you want to join that prestigious list, make sure to join as a member. I'm actually cooking up some new member perks, so keep your eyes peeled for that. But anyways, y'all, that's going to do it, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye!